beyond our control. But we promise that we would come back always with something beautiful. So always make sure that you have the very best of what it is that we have always promised to provide for you, and which is mental health information. Before we run up in this conversation today, I want to invite the medical director and the hour head of the Yaba Voice, Dr. Lubenga Adekile Oweye, to formally welcome us to this webinar today. Dr. Lubenga Adekile Oweye, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kemi Akitoyesi. Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to today's edition of our regular webinar by Yaba Voice on mental health issues. Yaba Voice is a platform for mental health education, advocacy, and community outreach. It is a platform of Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital Yaba Lagos, through which the hospital creates awareness and educate the populace on topical mental health issues. Today's topic is overcoming the menace of drug addiction. As we all know, more and more young children and adults are now living in drug-like circumstances and are actively engaged in drug-using behaviors. Recent data shows that the incidence and prevalence rate of drug use and drug use disorders among children and young adults are increasing across a range of socio-economic strata. The World Health Organization reports that up to 90% of children living in street-life circumstances worldwide use some kind of substance. And this creates a large burden for the family, for the community, and a great danger for the future of the family and the country in general. Hence, the need for the awareness and adoption of the preventive approach to this problem. In today's webinar, many questions will be answered. For instance, what is drug addiction? What is drug dependence? Are these two terminologies the same? What are the risk factors for developing drug addictions? How do we recognize the problem early? What and where are the available solutions? And finally, how do we prevent these problems from occurring? To do justice to today's topic, our seasoned experts in mental health issues. Our first speaker this morning is Dr. Abayomi Ojo Moses, a consultant psychiatrist special grade 1 and the head of Drug Abuse Treatment Center of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. Dr. Ojo obtained his Bachelor's of Medicine, Bachelor's of Surgery from the great Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and Master's in Public Health from the University of Lagos. He is a fellow of the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria and Hubert Humphrey Fellows too. He's a master trainer in the United Nations on Drug and Crime Drug Treatment Program, and also Colombo University Treatment Curriculum on Drug Abuse Treatment. The second presenter is Mrs. Olani Agbola Morenikeji Bukola. She's an assistant director of nursing at the Substance Abuse Unit of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. She holds Masters of Science in Nursing Education from the Lincoln University. Mrs. Olanije Agbola is a fellow of the West African College of Nursing. She is also a master trainer in the substance use disorder of the Colombo Universal Treatment Curriculum on Drug Abuse Treatment. Mrs. Agbola is a mental health advocate. Now, at this point, having known our two presenters, I want us to kindly relax and listen to our mental health experts as we promise you a rewarding session of today's webinar. Thank you. Over to you, Kemi Akitoyese.
Thank you so very much, the medical director. The medical director had already introduced us to what we are looking at. And when we're talking about the issue of substance addiction, drugs, now gone are the days when people hide in the corner to do it. Gone are the days when we don't even want to talk about it. Gone are the days when it's not in the family, when it's like in court, the bad boys that does it. Now, substance is virtually everywhere, and it's something that we really, really need to be proactive about and talk about. Otherwise, we are sitting on a time bomb, and if it goes off, then I don't know who is going to save us. Now, like the medical director said, we have seasoned experts here. If you hear their profile being read, they are addiction therapists, specialists. They have all that it takes to help us to provide a solution to this topic that we're looking at. If you know somebody that needs to be here, or you know a school, an institution, a religious body, or because this is a message for everyone, please and please get in touch with them. Tell them that they can join us here or join our Facebook page, Yaba Voice, one word, and they would also watch this live. They don't have to wait to watch the recording. They can always just join us directly, even on this platform right away. So please send a link to them and then let them look up. And you also know that you can send in your questions and contributions while this discussion is going on. Now we're going to go into the discussion for the day proper, and I'm going to start with Dr. Ojo, who is going to be talking to us about what is drug addiction and why do people become addicted. Now, why is it? People will tell you, oh, I started an habit and they can't get out. Why do people get addicted? Why do we become, in quotes, addicts, like we would call them? Over to you, Dr. Ojo.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Akitoyese. Thank you very much, Mrs. Akitoyese. Addiction is a common term used to describe a situation where an individual is kind of addicted, or let me say stuck with a particular drug. It's a kind of popular term used on the streets in common day discussion. But when it comes to scientific discussion, then we have to look at other terms, which we are going to discuss in due course. There cannot be addiction without drug use. And we can now look at it from the origin. How do people start to use drugs? There are stages that you reach before you get to addiction. Most people do not start drug the same day and become addicted the same day. So we have stages like experimentation stage. This is the stage of first use. The individual starts using, probably having been introduced to the drug by friends, or maybe out of curiosity, you just want to start, oh, I've seen my friends use it, I've seen it on television, people smoke, people drink, let me try it out. That's the stage of first use. Usually this stage is very important because it will determine whether the person will go on to become addicted or not. Usually we describe this stage as, if it is pleasant experience for the individual, the person enjoys it, that first experience, it is likely that the person would continue. If it's unpleasant, the person may try it again and probably continue, or maybe decide not to continue. Stage of experimentation also is important because it is the age of onset of use, of first use. Like we know, the first time somebody is exposed to the drug is very important. People who are exposed to drugs early in life, they are likely to get addicted than people who get exposed when they are in adult stage. And the next stage is the stage of occasional use. After the person moves from experimentation, if he or she decides to continue to use, he will move to the stage of occasional use, whereby the person use in situations, maybe during parties, during weekends, during the social functions, they use drugs, and then maybe they don't use it regularly. If the person continues to use it, he or she may move to the stage of regular use. Regular use can be used during social functions too, but more commonly, maybe after work, the person leaves work and say, oh, let me go and have a bottle of beer. It has become a habit now. He must have a bottle of beer before going home. Then there could be a stage of intensive regular use, where the person uses more regularly, even at home, alone, anywhere he is always using. And that this is a prelude to getting dependence, which is a stage of compulsive use. At the stage of dependence, the person must use, he just must use it because there is craving for the drug. He seeks for it, look for it anywhere he is, and ensures that he gets it. And that is the stage of dependence. Now, dependence has been used interchangeably with addiction. People believe that when somebody is dependent, then that person must also be addicted. But this may not be completely true, because not every features that we see in addiction are present in dependence. For example, dependence is usually used when you talk about physical dependence or physiological dependence, where you have withdrawal and tolerance. Withdrawal is when the person decides to quit or reduce the quantity of drug use. Then the person comes down with some symptoms which kind of makes it uncomfortable for them. And until they take the drug, they will not feel comfortable. And tolerance is when the person continues to use, and when he or she decides to reduce, they will not be able to get the same effect, and they have to continue to increase the amount they use in order to get the desired effect. Or if they use the same dose, they will not get the desired effect. These two physiological states are what usually decide whether somebody is dependent or not. However, when you talk about addiction, talk about some behavioral features that shows that that person is seeking drug every time. That is when you see the person selling things, even stealing, going to prostitution. All the life of the person is, it revolves around getting the drug, using the drug, and recovering from the effect of the drug. And that is when you said the person is dependent, is addicted. And how do people become addicted? Usually, people start using drugs. If you ask people why do you start using drugs, say, oh, I started using drugs because it is fun, or it gives me highness. That means that it makes me to feel high. So people say that because everybody does it, that's why I also do it. However, it is clear that some people are vulnerable to getting addicted, while some people are not vulnerable because of genetic issues, environmental factors, and other factors. So it's not everybody that gets to start using drugs that become addicted. And so when we talk about the etiological factors that make people to be addicted, then we talk about why some people develop addiction and others do not develop addiction. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ojo. When he was talking about experimentation, I remember the years where we were still much younger, and we would see people smoke, and they will show them that they are riding horses, and then they will be galloping into the sunset, blah, 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 blah. And it makes them look as if they are strong. And then you know what we now did? That we will now use smarts. Those smarts now will now try. That day we coughed like we will never. I didn't even go there again after that nasty experience. But that's how it starts for some people. Thank you so very much for, I know it talks about experimentation, occasional use, and also talks about dependence. And that's how it progresses for a lot of people. Early exposure and all of those things are some of the things that could make people to eventually become addicts. Now we're going to be looking at what are the risk factors And the signs of addiction, we're talking about the risk factor, what makes an individual susceptible, and how we know. Now, a whole lot of times you find out that parents will say, I never even suspected. I did not know. And the sign sometimes looks like it's staring us in the face, but we don't see it. Now, a key expert is going to be talking to us about the risk factor as well as the signs to see. I will help you to know that there is, or this thing is an addiction. It might even be about the individual. Over to you, Mrs. Moreni Keji. Thank you.
Thank you, the medical program, Dr. Akintoye. Thank you for the good job. Dr. Ojo, well done for taking us through what is addiction and the stages at which an individual becomes addicted. I want to welcome our viewers. That means I need us to understand certain risk factors that lead one into addiction. Start from what is called genetic factor. When we're talking about genetic factor in drug abuse leading to addiction, we are looking at the individual who has one or two relations or parents that are into use. And the individual, however, inherits the gene, and which is make it, prominent in the individual when it tries to experiment. The individual will, unlike somebody who has no genetic factors. And another factor is what is called the environmental factors. It is unfortunate that we are all exposed. Wherever you live in Nigeria, you are exposed to substance. You may think you live in the most consecrated area, but you don't know what is going on in your neighborhood. Some actually display it to the point that it is feasible and accessible to our young ones. You go to some schools, environment, to see some kiosks, is so porous to drug to the point that even the younger won't have access to it. We want to talk about parenting. As a matter of fact, what parenting like permissive, authoritarian, parenting or non-involving parenting expose our children to substance. Where a child is from a parent that doesn't care about him or her, whatever he likes, he can do. Whatever she likes, she can do. Such a child can be easily influenced to the point of using. Or a child that is always terrified by parents, and the child is looking for means to cope. By so doing, he or she can be introduced to substance that many times your parents are talking to you, you don't need to be afraid, you don't need to cry. If you take this, you will have the confidence, you'll be bold enough. And by so doing, this child will try it. And once you have the euphoric feeling for the first time, the pleasurable feeling, you want to continue. And that can lead to another factor that is called peer pressure, where the individual that has no strength, inner power to say no, is being pressurized by friends in school, in churches, in the neighborhood, and they will bring substance and give to an individual to try, even as much as the individual is been saying, I don't want, I've not seen it before. But the fact that there is no willpower in this individual, he or she may succumb to use, and that will begin his experience in the use of substance. What about the availability of another? A lot of us, we make a mistake of keeping substance in our homes. You get to some people's home, you will see a corner, they call it bar corner, and they keep some dangerous substance like alcoholic drinks, and they take it in the presence of these children sometimes, where there is no intensive education on them, forgetting that these children, they are still growing. Their brain is still growing. Brain does not fully develop until age 25. And you have a child that is still within the teen age, 12, 15, 17, 19, exposed to the substance you kept in your house. What about the day you will not be around and they try to test it? like some of us did while we were younger. When they send you to go and buy drink for them, when they finish with the visitors, and you carry the bottle and try to sip the leftover. And from there, some of these children are being exposed to substance. What are the signs and symptoms? Like my moderator said, we see it, but because we don't know, so it is difficult for us to recognize. You have a child, a nephew, a cousin, even students in school as a teacher. You see this child who has always been cool-headed, easygoing, responsible. All of a sudden, he becomes aggressive. A call, he will give it back to you. Why are you disturbing me? Please let me be. Aggressibility. You see this, but you are not taking cognizance of it. Some we attribute that to, well, it's the developmental stage. When they are getting to the teen age, they are crossing into the adulthood, they change in their characters. It's true they change in their characters, but do you take time to know what is changing and why they are changing? You want to see a child who has always been, concerned about his outlook. All of a sudden, you see this child becoming smelly. He doesn't take care of his physical hygiene. He may wear one trouser, one singlet for days, he no longer cares. This is one of the things you should look out for. You have a child in your house. He has always been around parents. He has always been with the family. All of a sudden, he's withdrawn. He will come in and go straight to his room and lock the door. You dare not move to the door. He is not ready to open the door for you. Or they comes in with friends and they keep indoor for longer than necessary. These are signs you need to look out for. Your child who has not been going out without telling you his whereabouts will just disappear. An attempt to look for him, we want to give you all sort of excuses. And you don't take time to follow up. He said he has gone to see his uncle, his auntie. Do you care to know if actually he went to see someone that you know at that particular time? This child suddenly began to lose weight. Do you know why he's losing weight? Sometimes when they begin to take these drugs, they no longer eat and they give their time to substance. Definitely they will be emaciating. You want to know why your son is or your daughter is losing weight. You want to see them, they are having dental issues, skin pigmentation, rashes all over their bodies. You want to know why. It could be one of the signs of substance. They have problem with their academics. They no longer go to school as expected, or when they are in school, they take excuses from teachers to go and use with their colleagues. If it's a working class individual, he no longer late. Some when they get there, they may be of the substance. These are signs you need to look out for. Somebody who has always been careful in carrying out his assignments in the working place now, disappoints, failed to do his goals and responsibilities. Even the traders that use substances, they mismanage their businesses. They lose their capital easily because they will have encroached into it in order to do substances. You see, coming euphoric for no reason. You may think it's being happy for no reason, but the effect of the substance in a system is actually, the dopamine level has been put into action and it will work more than expected. And in it, we also discover personality disorder. All of these and many more. You agree with me that you need to, probably you have seen, but you are not taking cognizance of. There can be signs and symptoms of addiction. Thank you as you listen.
Wow, wow, wow. That's so interesting. And I remember the first case of substance abuse. And as she was talking about the aggression, I remember way back in primary school when this boy got up one day and charged at the headmistress. Then, we used to use headmistress. And everybody was surprised. I was like, why is this quiet, innocent looking boy becoming very irrational? And that day they said he used Valium. That was my first time of ever hearing of Valium. I know it became, maybe mixed it with some other things, but they said it's substance. Now, if we look at the decades from that time, I'm talking about more than 20 years ago, to where we are, it's huge. Now, Dr. Joe will be talking to us about the consequences of addiction, as well as the many menaces, now permit me to use that word, of substance addiction that we have in our society. Over to you, Dr. Joe.
Thank you, Ms. Akpeche. Addiction itself is a consequence enough for anybody who has gone to that level of drug use. And we can go on and on to describe what complications follow a state of addiction. But beyond that, we know that drug use itself affects almost every system of the body. And we can divide the consequences into three major areas. It affects the physiological functioning of the person. So we can describe that as biological consequences. It also affects the person psychologically. And there are so many social consequences of addiction. Now, even when you talk about biological consequences or psychological consequences or social consequences, we still need to divide it into whether it is affecting the individual, the family, the community where the person lives, or even the global effect of addiction. It has been said that effect or negative effect of drug abuse or addiction is felt more by people who are not even into drug use. A very good example is if you go to a car park, you are traveling to maybe another state, and you do not know that the driver is already drunk or has taken some drugs, and then you embark on the journey with him. Along the line, there may be an accident, majorly because the person was on drug, maybe he's drunk, or any other effect of the drug having on him made him to lose control of the vehicle, and many people may get injured or even die in the process. That is a very common example of how the use of drugs by some people can affect the lives of others. So we can also divide it into, so we're talking about biological consequences. Usually it affects the individual because he is the one taking the drug. And you talk about effect on the central nervous system, effect on the respiratory system. For the central nervous system, usually people who are into addiction, they suffer cognitive impairments, memory impairments. Sometimes they suffer from stroke as a result of long-term use of such drugs. We can also have effect on the cardiovascular system, like high blood pressure, stroke, like I said earlier, endocarditis in people who inject drugs because they kind of introduce infectious agents into their system. And you can have respiratory system effect like emphysema, COPD, that's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. You can have exacerbation of asthma symptoms for those people who are asthmatic and they also go into smoking. And so it can have effect on the genitourinary system, low sperm counts, infertility in some people, in some patients, and erectile dysfunction, particularly in people who abuse alcohol or who are addicted to alcohol. So a biological effect on individual can be devastating, and it can be lifelong. For example, people can also suffer from peptic ulcer disease, pancreatitis, pancreatic ulcer, cancer, and gastritis, and any effect that may also be seen even in the liver. We have liver cirrhosis, liver cancer in people who abuse alcohol for a long period of time. Now, talking about biological consequences, like I said, usually affect people who use the drugs. But psychological or psychosocial effects can affect family members and the society. For example, we can have issue of courtism in the society because of people who abuse drugs. You can have parental separation because when a child is abusing drugs, it causes discord in the family, and that may lead to parental separation or even divorce. You have family dysfunction. You have a neighborhood where we have high level of drug use. You have gang fights. You have people going into courtism and all the rest. These are some of the social consequences. Now, talking about the effects on, globally, you can see that wars have either been started or even perpetuated or maintained or sustained by drugs. You see the war in Ukraine and Russia. Many of the soldiers who are at the war front, they be maintained. They will be able to stay at the front line, majorly because they are on drugs. And you can also have it in a place like the northern part of Nigeria, where you have insurgents. Drug abuse has been shown to perpetuate wars in many places. What about crime? Cybercrime is now the foremost link with drug. We used to talk about music as the link with drug, but we now see many of our patients having what they call internet fraud as part of what links them to drug. They say, oh, I have to chat with the client and I have to stay awake so that I'll be able to chat with the client. So I have to be on ice to keep me awake. You also have crimes like armed robbery, kidnapping. Many of these crimes, people commit them after they have taken drugs. So these are some of the consequences that affect individual, the family, the society or the community, as well as even the global community. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ojo, for that enlightenment. I know when he was reeling out all of the issues that could emanate from using substances, hey, I was asking myself, when they tell us that smokers are liable to die young, and yet people will still go and smoke. And he was reading out the big English. Some of them I can't even pronounce it very well. Pancreatic, you now begin to ask yourself, is it that they do not hear? Now you have been empowered. You're now a vanguard to go out there. Let's enlighten people the more. And that's the essence of what we're doing here today. Because quite a lot of damaging consequences is associated with substance use. And from what we have talked about today, it's really, really getting worse out there. And one morning, I got out of my house. And as I was stepping out, it was like they had blown, no, not like it is. The whole atmosphere was charged with marijuana, that pungent smell of marijuana. And so at the point, I had to do like this because they had a party overnight. I had to do like this. But at the point in time, I was choking. So I had to remove my hand from my nose. And then I had to inhale it. And honestly, I tell you, I'm not kidding. It was like I was smoking myself because my head was now doing, I can't describe the experience. My head was just doing like this. I was like, oh my God. Now, what about the people that actually smoked the thing? Now, me that is just passing by, I am now having this. Now, we cannot overemphasize the menace that we're talking about. It's so strong, it's the meaning, and it's affecting quite a lot of things. Now, so many younger ones have been inculcated into the habit. To make it worse, just about a week or two ago, a woman was indicted to say she was selling cookies and she was adding it to eat. And quite a lot of young ones were going there to buy. And now when children buy drinks, even in school, you will find out that they had it so that the Zopo woman would always sell. But at what cost? No, at what cost? That's the question we start asking ourselves. Now we'll go to Mrs. Morenikeji. Who is going to tell us the detrimental effects. Now, of all that we had looked about, how can we begin to deal with it? What are the protective factors in our environment? What can we do to shield ourselves? I couldn't block my nose forever. What else would we do in this current situation? Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isoiche. We all have a lot to do. Gone are the days when somebody will say, it doesn't concern me. After all, I know my children, we are in the house together, they are with their grandmother, I have an house help or someone who is looking after them. No, it has gone beyond that. In fact, I need to call on the religious leaders. They have more work to do. Because when you tell some of them, the first response you will hear is go for beach. After all, we are praying. Yes, we are praying. But we need to do much more than prayers. And that is why I need us to know that we need to start from health education. We need to create awareness. These younger ones, they actually know that there are dangers behind this substance they are using or they are about to use. Many times I have opportunity to ask some of them, do you know what will happen to you after use? Some of them will say, nothing now. What will happen? Nothing, because there's no one to tell them there are complications that may arise from their use. And like you said, the people selling cookies, drinks now, they now add substance to it. Not just that, even at parties. I learned of a 15-year-old boy who was to celebrate his birthday and ordered for cake with marijuana. And it was produced. And I'm sure the producer is an adult. I saw a video of a barbecue being seasoned with hot drink, and people will have all of this. We need to create awareness, health education in our churches, in our schools, in our communities. We need to go beyond, we are going to mosque, we are going to churches, we are going to pray. We need to intensify the awareness. It's true, we have sent our children to school to go and learn. What becomes your gain or your reward or your effort? Haven't sent your child to school, finish secondary school successfully, enter university, 100 level, probably at the final year is being lured into use. Or even after graduation. I've seen a guy who never used until while he went to do his NYSC. During service years was when he was introduced, because there's no enough education on substance abuse and its effects. So we need to look into that. Then community outreach, like Dr. Akitoye said, in our area, she suddenly became a passive smoker out of the substance released into the atmosphere by people using in the communities. What are the communities leaders doing? We need to come together to bring the expertise to your community, to synthesize everyone, to give us the eye-opening onto this menace. We should not live under our roof, close our eyes, fold our hands, and war will come in to take us away, or our children. So I'm begging on the community leaders. Thank God the long holiday is here. Let all the community leaders organize training, even to the adults. You will see in the community, that is what the majority of the housewives are now trading into. They now sell alcohol in sachets in the open places. They see it as the order of the day. But if there's a proper community outreach, the community leaders will be able to give an order. Such should not be allowed, and they'll be able to give better empowerment to their women. We need to know about the treatment. Once it happens, treatment is another thing. In order to curb the consequences that may arise or that is actually happening. A lot of our young ones who has been into these substances, they are now living in pain. Many of them are having mental challenges. They are having one health challenges or the other, like Dr. Ojo said. We need to understand the fact that there's treatment for them. They need rehabilitation.
And in the course of rehabilitation, they will be empowered on how to overcome their triggers, like places, their people they move with, and the activities that actually leads them into use. They will be able to have all these facts, and they will have the understanding how to overcome their craving. There's no doubt the craving may come, but while they are in rehabilitation, they will have the understanding of how to delay their feeling, their craving. They will have the empowerment on how to deny it, how to discuss it with someone, how to distract it, they will learn how to take the deep breath or to drink water in order for them to overcome their craving. So treatments and rehabilitations are very, very essential. And after treatment, follow-up is very, very important. You know why I say so? In addiction, there is no discharge. Our clients, our patients are always in recovery, haven't gone through the stages of recovery, from pre-contemplation to contemplation to preparation, action stage, and their maintenance stage. While they are going through the maintenance stage and they are gradually progressing to what we call recovery, there is every room for relapse. And that is why follow-up is very, very important. And in the follow-up, you need to carry out, this toxicology, a test to check whether the individual is actually trying to do something that is not known to you. So follow-up is very, very essential. Then our law enforcement agencies, we need their services. We cannot do it alone. Like we said, our communities are so porous. We need law enforcement agencies to do their bits, to put law in places and to act on it, to make sure that anyone that violates any of this will be brought to book. So we need to ensure that they do their duty. Then the support for the family. It is unfortunate that these people that are using haven't gone to the problems alone. It's forced back to their loved ones. So they need support as well to know that they don't need to be tired, they need to be encouraged, and they need to be supported. Then I will stop on this note. We need to go into research and to evaluate. What are we doing? What we have done so far, are they actually effective? So we also need to go into research and evaluation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so very much. This is really great. But I hear her say, it starts from awareness. We can't get a lot done without awareness. We need to create more awareness out there. But a lot of people don't even understand what they are doing or why they are doing it. I've had patients that you would talk to and they said, they just gave me. And so what does it do for you? They don't know. What is the effect? They don't know. We need to do more in terms of awareness. Now, oftentimes a lot of us shy away from even trying to talk to these ones because sometimes you feel that when you talk to them outside, they may lay you or gang weigh you or whatever way they will weigh you. So that before you know it, hey, you are in trouble. So most times, hey, I just carry my head and my bag like this. I walk away. Sometimes somebody said, sometimes even when they ask me for money, naturally, I know I should not give them. But because they are boys on our street, she would give because she said, I don't want them to lay me. And that is one of the things that is causing much more problem in our environment. Who takes care of these ones? Who is there? We are talking about protective factors. What are the factors that are available to help these young ones? Now, since the coronavirus, if you notice, the trend has gotten worse. That even now, when you go on the street, on the road, they blow it out there. They don't care anymore. The places where they sell this hot drink. This morning, while I was coming to work, I saw a woman carried her baby on her back as she was selling the sachet drink. And she was running after the damn food drivers. And it was when I was saying to myself, this is bad. Who takes care of these ones? Who regulates things like this? Honestly, there's a need to be more proactive Otherwise, hey, there is no future again. No, they say the young ones are the future of the nation. There is no young one again. A majority of them. Now, let me not say all of them because I do not have the statistics, but majority, a great bulk of them are into the substances. Now, Ms. Morenikeji talks about them adding it into. Quite a lot of people are even doing all sorts now. And it's really, really alarming. Somebody talked to us and said, some parents do well. Yes, I agree. And if you listen to what Ms. Morenikeji said earlier, she mentioned quite a lot of risk factor. And one of the things she said was poor parenting. Yes, some parents are very good, effective, excellent parenting, but there are other influences. Don't forget now we have the days of the social media, the Gen Z. And now they say we are moving from Gen Z, we are moving to Alpha. I wonder what that generation is going to look like. But these are some of the challenges of this time. And these are things that we are highlighting. Environmental factors are really huge. Yes. Olasukomi is saying, please, we should take this to school. And honestly, we are willing to partner. I am sure the medical director is here. And on his permission, I know that if anybody comes and say, oh, let's do this, our door is open, we will always present ourselves to go out. Part of what we do is community services. And we will be ready to take the information right there to the school. Elijah Patrick says NAFDAC has a lot of work to do. I don't agree with you, Les. Everybody, as a matter of fact, not just NAFDAC, everybody in our churches, on social media platforms, let's keep preaching the message. Drug abuse, substance addiction could be detrimental to an individual's functioning. Some people just want trial and forever they are out of it. Emmanuel Owat says one great problem we are facing in our society today is modeling. Majority of this substance, such as alcohol, tobacco, and energy drink used by celebrity to advertise this product. Use celebrity, yes, to advertise this product. Once these teenagers see such adverts, they will always try. Yes, that's our process. A lot of people model after the celebrity in court, the big ones, the power ones. Unfortunately, some of them don't even take it. They just do adverts and get their money and go. And unfortunately, the gullible ones follow suit and then start using. Tom says, thanks for the presentation. Olufemi says, what can government do urgently to reduce the cost of treatment, which is a major problem, considering the economic challenges Nigerians are going through? You and I, we are in the same boat here. What can they do? I do not know. Maybe the MD and Dr. Ojo will still talk about the issue of rehabilitation before we close this meeting for today. But in actual fact, there is a lot more. But if we are able to start from awareness and prevention, I think we will be able to get it right. Now, Dr. Ojo, can you help us to maybe enumerate and talk about the treatment options that individuals who are addicted can pursue? How can they get help? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Talking about treatment, my belief is that treatment should be culture-based. Many of the treatment modalities that we are currently using now, we got them from other cultures. And we can talk about treatments in two ways. What are we doing now? And what should we be doing? If what we are doing now is working, I don't think we will have this rise or increase in the rate of prevalence of drug abuse that we are seeing now. That means that we are doing something not really right. And what are we doing currently? We are doing what is called treatment. That means that we wait until people become addicted or they go into drug abuse, and then we treat. Treatment is effective, but to a particular extent. Relapse is common. And so we have to look at preventive measures, which I will talk about very soon. But what are the principles of an effective treatment? We have to understand that addiction is a complex disease. So it is not a spiritual problem. Because if you understand the origin of a particular illness, that's where we know how to treat it. So it's a brain disorder. And that's why it affects brain functions and behavior. So it is, because it's a disease, it is treatable. The second thing is that there's no single treatment that's appropriate for everyone. So treatment is usually individualized. Every person who is into drug abuse is unique in his or her own way. Now, talking about accessibility to treatment, in our own environment, while we are having increased prevalence of drug abuse and addiction, we are having problems with access to treatment. One of the reports shows that, by UNODC shows that only 1 out of 4 people who have drug problem have access to treatment. And this is even worse among women who, because of stigma, they will not be able to, they are not able to come out to receive treatment. What's also important is that patients must stay in treatment for enough period of time before it can be effective. We are having issues with people staying in treatment because of lack of facilities, people saying that maybe lack of insight into the problem, and sometimes relatives are unable to pay for treatment. After some time, they say, I cannot afford payment again, so we have to discharge. So, like somebody was saying, government should do more in terms of making it accessible and affordable to people who have this problem. The government is doing a lot because treatment now is highly subsidized in public hospitals like our own here. Yet, it's still expensive to many people. We use behavioral therapy mostly, like individual therapy, family therapy, marital or couple therapy, and all these other counseling sections and group therapy in most cases for our treatments. And another thing that is also important in effective treatment is that that will be planned with the patients. Most times, patients also have their own priorities and goals. And this has to be merged with the goals and priorities of the therapist. So before treatment commences, you need to sit with the patient and agree on treatment goals, which will be achieved at the end of treatment. Now, what are the available treatment modalities? We have outpatient treatment modality, which is usually used when you have mild case of addiction or substance use disorder, as we normally call it here. In that case, that person can actually cope. The person can actually cope as an outpatient. But in most cases, when we have severe or moderate cases of addiction, inpatient treatment, or what we call rehabilitation, is usually recommended. In this case, that person cannot do without the drug. So giving them outpatient management will make them to even have access to the drug, and they will continue to take. Other modalities of treatment, you have faith-based treatment whereby people use spiritual method to treat. These are usually done by the religious bodies. We have the Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry of the RCCG, and other people who have other religious bodies also have this faith-based treatments. We also have rehabilitation homes, which are private, and they are also available for people who can afford them. So these are just some of the few treatments that are available. But I can say it is effective every time. America was saying test is the way. So we need to catch people young. We need to go to schools, do outreach, test people in universities, test pupils in their secondary schools, so that we can catch people who are using drugs early and be able to tackle the menace early too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ojo, for that submission. We have a highly subsidized treatment facility here. Yes, we know that it might not be cheap for some people, but at least you can always access care and help here. And there are questions on the platform. Dr. Ojo will be telling us shortly the relationship between depression and substance abuse? Is there a link, and are they treated in isolation? And then again, please just link it up with genetic factor in substance use development so that we can wrap it up. We are far behind schedule. Shola, let me just quickly take your comment before Dr. Joe comes up. And he says, is that disagree with us on bad parenting. But see, it's not that any parent will go out and say, my son, start using substance. But when you do not caution, when you do not control, when you do not say no, when you use and the child sees, when the child start taking the snub of what you had used, that is a way of saying, yes, I agree with it. Okay? Some parents don't control, some parents don't correct, those parents don't discipline. And that's a way of saying yes. So that's what we are talking about. It's not like any parent will go out and say, yes, that's okay. Yes, we know that some parents frowns at it. We had established that in this meeting, but also we know that there are people who we call the neglectful or the overindulgence, who may not also have so much control. Glory, yes, the message you sent in is it's very sacrosanct, and it's true also, because we know that sometimes the best of help hasn't come from the law enforcement agent, but we all just keep shouting, we keep doing our best, we keep talking about it so that we will be able to get the best help. Dr. Joe, quickly just help us take that question before we take the last word, and we'll move on quickly. The link between depression and substance use.
A cause or consequence of drug abuse, especially in young people, where the kind of the symptoms of depression in young people is kind of atypical, or maybe something that can be described as strange. Young people, when they are depressed, they come up with some strange symptoms. One of them is substance abuse, especially among male, among boys. Now, depression can also be a consequence of drug abuse. When people start taking drugs, they lose almost everything that they have ever worked for. They sell things, they become outcasts among their peers. Their parents may even reject them. And when you have having any emotion that has to do with shame, with rejection, or with entrapment, depression may eventually follow. So we can say that depression can be a cause of alcohol, of drug abuse, in the sense that when people are depressed, they sometimes even use drugs to medicate their depression, or they may even develop, they display symptoms of depression in form of drug abuse. At the same time, depression can be a consequence of drug abuse. Thank you.
Okay, so what
I've said to us now is the fact that it could be a cause as well as a consequence. Okay, it could be a cause as well as a consequence, and vice versa. When it's there, then it also means that it needs to be treated, and the individual needs to get help for themselves. Somebody's on the line. I want to just quickly take that while we're rounding up. What is the next edition? And we usually have the Yaba Voice every third Thursday of the month. Please go and note it down in your diary. If it's going to change, then we're going to send a notice right ahead for you. All right, so Ikaka, that's answering your question. Emmanuel says, that might be a link. Sometimes we have parents, it could be as a result of modeling, among other things like that. That brings us to the end of our webinar today. Some people are just joining. You're welcome. But we're rounding up. I will hope to see you again another time. We've talked about the menace of substance addiction, which is really becoming something very, very menacing in our environment today. And it's, somebody that, sometimes it cuts your heart when parents come and they will say, my son, they feel really terrible that it's affecting somebody that they know, because we understand. But again, what can we say? Sometimes it's just terrible. We can't control the narrative as much as we want to control it. We want to sincerely apologize for the network. It's not within our control. As much as we want things to run smoothly at all times, sometimes the network just comes. But I hope you had gotten the message that we are trying to pass across today. And we're just going to take the last one from our speakers today, and then we'll call it a day. Dr. Joe, any last words for us?
What the last? Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Okay, let's take, we can't hear Dr. Ojo. Mrs. Moreni KG, let's hear you while we try to correct the technicalities here.
Thank you very much for being part of us today. I want to leave us with the fact that substance abuse is real. It's not what we can longer deny. There's no need for anyone to deny. As much as you trust your child, you trust your nephew, your brother that lives with you, I want to encourage us to leave a benefit of doubt. Testing. Let's check ourselves. You may think it is expensive. I pray it won't happen to you. You will know that treatment is more expensive. You can walk in Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital and get your work tested. Please go as far as checking your children, especially during this holiday. And I want to encourage the schools. Let's make it part of our duties when our children are resuming back to school. Let's introduce substance testing, toxicology, and God will give us a way out. Thank you very much.
All right, over to you, Dr. Joe.
Well, I also want to quickly say that to tackle the problem of drug abuse should be a joint effort. We need a concerted effort of all stakeholders. We are doing so much in Nigeria, for example, but we need more coordination among the stakeholders, the NDLEA, the people that are in treatment, because what we apply in Nigeria is supply reduction, demand reduction, and harm reduction. And in all this, we need to coordinate. The NDLEA should work with treatment centers, and that should not, the NGOs also work with other stakeholders so that we can have a good result. We also need to work with education institutions, particularly the educational board in our states, the universities all around the country, because drug abuse is majorly a young people problem. The majority of people who have drug abuse problems are young people, and we need to tackle this particular age group. And then we can now start saying that we are getting better results. Thank you very much.
We're sorry, we have some bit of technicalities here. It's beyond our control, but we're doing everything humanly possible to ensure that we tackle that. I'm going to just take comment from the chat burst. Olufumlaye Tai Jagbemi says, thank you for the topic. Can we have the recording? Yes, we will share the recorded version as soon as we finish from here. Or then it's on our YouTube page. So please You can also watch these as well as some of our previous episodes on different topics of mental health. Is there a list of the private drug treatment program? Also, can you add me to your email list? Okay, I would take note of this email, and then subsequently we can send you information as regards to what we're doing here at Yaba Voice. Tracy Madrike says, thank you, Yaba Voice. And the presenter, I pray the network it is be looking into. Yes, we will try to do that. We are trying virtually everything possible to ensure that we have each free webinars, but sometimes it's not just possible. We can't control all of those things. Yes, Olasukomi says, please use your platform to train. Okay, yes, we're doing that. We have what we call the Colombo program and quite a whole lot of other things. And I want to tell you categorically that in recent times it's been huge, because we're doing quite a whole lot of training for the adults as well as even for the child and adolescent, as well as other things. The Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, under the leadership of Dr. Olubenga Dekile, is looking greatly into equipping and ensuring that, yes, we have the best when it comes to mental health issues. And so we would be doing that. And I promise you that this is not the end for us. We would keep campaign loud and clear so that everyone would hear the message, and then we'll create more awareness. Yes, Ikaka, I've seen yours too. We'll take note of that and we'll get our messages across to you. Please also, you can always join us on the Yaba Voice platform, both on Facebook and on YouTube and on Instagram. As please just be a vanguard, be a help. Ojomo, thank you so very much. Would like to see a pharmacist on the panelists. Yes, we would love to do that. We've done that before. So we keep adding more professionals, and we have very limited time to do this. Thank you so very, very much. Oh, yes, Balogun, we'll take note of that. Balogun too wants to be a campaigner. Maybe we'll be starting something very huge from this webinar today. Something very, the medical director is here, is listening. And so he knows that maybe after this webinar, we may be starting the Yaba Voice Substance Addiction Campaign Group. And until we'll come your way again next month, we'll be looking at something very vital. And it's something that we really don't talk about so much too. It's about mental health. Yes, you are a man, but oftentimes, we've been taught that men don't express emotion. They don't cry. They don't do anything. And then they result to quite a whole lot of things. Irritability, that's the least of them, and so many other things. Is it that men don't have mental health, don't have emotions, or we're not treating it rightly? We're not looking at it well until we come your way again. Please remember that the situation in the country is a general problem. This time too shall pass. So please take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, manage yourself as much as possible. Look at the things that you can control. If you can't handle it, please take back, take a nap, take a shower, drink gari and granola, and then enjoy your day. It's not every day that we eat chicken and rice. So excuse me, please enjoy yourself. Minimize your stress as much as possible. If you cannot travel, stay at home. Join on Zoom. Life is so easy now, okay? Until we come your way again, please keep flourishing and ensure that you protect your mental health. Thank you so very much. Over and out. Bye.